Well, greetings, everyone, and welcome to a very special online event today. It's called The Art of Mediumship with James von Praagh. Receive messages from the spirit world to expand your spiritual potential. My name is Stephen Dyna. I'm the founder and president of the Shift Network, and I'm really thrilled to be here because the whole field of mediumship is really exploding in interest. And we were just saying it's mainstream in a way that yoga was once weird, and now talking to people on the other side is increasingly less and less strange, and actually is becoming part of more and more people's lives. And I think the opportunity here is tremendous for humanity, for spiritual evolution, for better guidance, for opening to new possibilities, and really just healing old wounds with family members, and so many things that we'll talk about today. And we're blessed to be here with one of the true pioneers in this space, who's been at it for decades now, who's really helped open this realm of possibility, who's been an inspiration to really millions. His name is James von Praagh. He's a psychic medium and spiritual teacher. We recently did a 7-week program with James. Great feedback. People loved it, had profound experiences. So much so that we're actually going to be offering a brand new program, a 7-week program that builds on that first program. And we'll share a little bit more about how you can jump in if you want to go further with this work. So with that said, James, thank you so much for
Thank you,
coming
Stephen.
back.
Nice to see you. Thank you. Nice to be back. And thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's so great. Well, let's. I want to start for folks who don't know you and your work. It might be great to have a little backstory about how you got into mediumship and
Sure.
really the bigger why that you've devoted most of your life to it.
Yeah, I came into this world, and it's funny because right now I'm writing my autobiography, which finally happened after 40 years of doing this work. And as a little boy, I used to see spirit quite a bit. And to me, it was very natural. And my mother used to tell me, oh, those are God's angels you see. I used to see them too. So it really runs through family genetics. And I was never afraid of it. To me, it was very natural to see spirits standing next to someone. It didn't happen all the time, but what it did happen was it was kind of an acknowledgement and validation that was fine with me. And then I knew that I had to do something in service of humankind. So I joined the priesthood to be a priest because I grew up Catholic. And that every year didn't feel right to me. And I heard a voice say, God is outside these four walls. You have to find God outside these four walls. So I did. And I worked into broadcasting. I was to be a sitcom writer. And it's a long, long story. It ended up that I went through many temporary jobs, ended up going to a talent agency, working in the basement of a talent agency. And a lady said, do you want to go see a medium? And I said, I don't know what that is. It was back in the late 80s, I guess. And the first thing that happened was walked into his apartment. He said, you're a medium. I said, excuse me? And he said, yes, the spirit world are going to use you as a conduit that's why you came back in this world. And I said, really? He says, yes, in 2 years' time. Time passed. It was a pretty good reading, I guess you'd say. And things happened. And then then once I was working, a girl came to the cubicle, and I saw a dead lady behind her grandmother. And I told her things, and she understood everything. Kind of freaked me out. And I ran home from my apartment, didn't know who to call. I called that medium and told him what happened. And he said, James, don't you remember Spirit's prediction? That was 2 years ago today.
Oh my
So
goodness.
he took me under his wing and helped me develop properly. For 7 years, I sat in the quiet. It's called sitting in the quiet in a circle for 7 years. And I did one message out for 7 years to build the power and develop my abilities. And then in 7 years, I gave my first message, and it was phenomenal. And I started doing that on a regular basis. I knew within me that my soul had its calling, and its calling was met by helping people, by serving people. And I've been doing it now 40 years. And it changes, as you've said, it's changed quite a bit. Many more people are interested because, we all know about birth, but we don't know about death. And we all want to know a little bit more about death. And mediumship provides that. And it also provides soul growth, soul experience, which everybody needs.
I'm curious. So you started as a priest, and it'd be curious, like, it's sort of odd to me that like religions don't spend more time on building skills to communicate with souls in the afterlife, given that most religions have a concept of souls traveling into the afterlife and being there. So it's like interesting that it was like at first a little weird, but now mainstreaming. So what have you discovered that has been really enriching for the understanding of souls and our incarnational process, that kind of on the big picture level?
Sure. Number one, we are souls having human experience, not the other way around. So we are souls having this human experience, and this is a school for the soul. There are millions of schools for the soul. This is one of many. And we come to that school which we have to go to that will provide us the most, the lessons that will help us grow the most. And on this earth, it's a very tough school because you have souls of all different levels. You have baby souls who think power and money and greed is it, and the advanced souls with healing and compassion, and you have the middle souls trying to figure things out. So you're thrown into the school, and because there are many different levels, it creates scenarios for your soul to experience different types of things. And the best way one can experience those different lessons are knowing who they are as a soul self. And that's why mediumship, this avenue of mediumship, it's not only talking to dead people, it's really developing your soul self, a relationship with your soul. And that's really one of the most important things to do. And I think not only through mediumship, but whatever line of work one takes on this earth, it really should be developing your soul and using those abilities of compassion and love, who we naturally are. We're naturally loving beings, and using that in everyday life, whatever avenue you can, whatever work you're involved in, being able to use that compassion, knowing who you are is very, very important.
Mm. What's the role of these kind of like wow experiences in getting to the knowing who you really are as a soul? So you had that the prediction of 2 years specifically, you're going to start doing this, and it was exactly on point. Sometimes it's those predictions that are sort of, have that kind of pop that really open you to something bigger. So maybe share a little bit about evidence and the specificity and why that's so important sometimes in
Sure. I'm a very down-to-earth person. I'm Virgo with Capricorn rising, very down-to-earth, very real, black and white, cynical New Yorker originally. And for me, things in a way have to be proven. But I know I've always had deep within my being, I'd say, an inner knowingness of something. And I think I've survived this long in my life because of that inner knowingness. And my job really is to help people to have that relationship with themselves, because we get so caught up in other people's thoughts of what we should be, who we should be, and that becomes our life. And we get away from ourselves. And then we get into our mid-30s and 40s, and we don't have a fun life or a relationship with ourselves because we're living someone else's life instead of ourselves. So I have found the more one gets to know who they are, the more they realize truth, and the more they're able to really believe in themselves and let themselves fly, right? God always says yes, but humans say no. So it's a matter of learning that you are God, you're the divine light, you're part of that divine being, and to really embrace that and use that in everyday life. And for me, it comes about, I can't be responsible for the people. I've got to be responsible for my own self and the love that I give out. One of the things I teach was really, really important. I really, really believe this, is that thoughts are things, that energy is real, and what you give out, you get back. And it's hard for some people because they don't see it. But that's where that faith comes in. And mediumship as well, there's got to be a certain faith. There's going to be a belief in yourself and a belief in the work itself. And once you start having those scenarios, those experiences, where you're able to bring through evidence, people, personalities of them, it gives you a little more confidence within yourself. And that confidence tends to build. And that's why sitting in those 7 years of development helped me build my confidence, my sense of who I am, which is really the cornerstone of mediumship, knowing who you are, so they own self be true.
So let's talk a little bit about the beings you can communicate with. So you have the range from like recently departed beloveds to like very high level spirit guides, archangels. So maybe share a little bit about what
Sure.
what you want to do in terms of like, is it better to have souls that have been on the other side a little while to give you better advice, higher vantage? Share a little bit about what happens.
Sure. Well, it's interesting because like attracts like. So you will attract to those beings who are kind of on the same wavelength, in that you understand them. Because if you have beings coming from a very high level, high sphere, and they come in, which does happen, by the way, and it's usually step by step by step. They bring down to the other step to those beings, bring the other step to those beings. So when one opens themselves up to possibilities, you'll be open to anything that happens. So I communicate with mostly personalities of deceased loved ones, names, addresses, personalities, evidential details, memories of the past, names, all that sort of thing. But also I brought through guides. Many times guides will come through very, very easily. I've also brought through, we would call them alien beings. I call them light beings. And when I started in development, I many times have had large light beings come through. Philosophers, guides, teachers. I brought through Edgar Casey's come through me, Ben Franklin, Abraham Lincoln. A lot of people, a lot of celebrities have come through. But it's very, very interesting, Stephen, because, for instance, Lucille Ball came to me once. I didn't know Lucille Ball. I had no idea. I was in my rose garden I had at my other place and cutting some roses, and Lucille Ball came to me. I loved her show, of course, growing up. I loved Lucy. And she said to me something very interesting. She said, James, the personality people know me as a comedian, but I'm a healer. I came back to heal with laughter, which is very
Love
interesting
it.
because we place these personalities on these souls, and when they come back, they're not like that. They're very, very different. And I've worked through many of those beings because humans place so much on them that they're not that, so it's fascinating. So it really comes down to the core, and the core is the soul core of the message, and that usually is love. And many times I'm interested in opening up the space where that personality of the loved one can come through, and the medium begins to take on that personality, with no question, that the recipient is able to identify that personality, but it's also about love, because spirit comes through in love, and that's how they're able to come through, is love. The more love you can give out there in that space, and I work with the atmosphere all around myself, and that's why I teach my students to work with that atmosphere of love. And love is the vibration that they come in. They come in love. And they might come through and say, I'm sorry, please forgive me. I didn't mean that. Because there seems to be, when we leave this physical vibration, there's an opening or there's an expansion of the soul, and you see the trueness of that soul. I think in this three-dimensional world, we go through what's called the valley of forgetfulness before we come back into the body when we're born. And really we're doing that because the creator, the divine, whatever wants, gives a clean slate to start over with. Because if we came back knowing all of our past lives, things we did, things we didn't do, we might be so obsessed with those things in the past that we can't do our curriculum this time because we're too obsessed with the other. So it's kind of like a gift. But the best, again, the right thing to do, and I always talk about this, I make it very, very simple. Life is a series of choices, and choices are based upon love or fear. So choose love because that's your natural vibration. Fear is of the human world. It's not of the spirit world. It's of the human. So part of developing mediums is getting away the fears, the reprogramming them right in the right sense of themselves, centering themselves, and having that knowing why they've come back, why they want to do the work of mediumship, if you will, or do they just want to develop spiritually? It's a great way just to develop spiritually. You don't have to be a professional medium, but it certainly gets you on that road to have that relationship with your soul.
So you've mentioned a curriculum that we sort of incarnate with, or sometimes people talk about soul intentions. How much access to that do our recently departed loved ones have? Can they kind of really get the big picture of all of our soul intentions and what we're up to?
Yes, they can. Many times it comes down to there are certain things which they call veiled, which is they're not allowed to tell the soul certain things because they can't give them the answers to the test because they got to go through it, and they love them so much they can't give the answers. That's why us to go through the process of that. But there are other things that many times I'll talk about the potential of the soul, the things that you choose, what's important in your life, what's not important, what do you hold importance to, and what do you not hold importance to. Many times, Steve, it comes back to really believing in yourself and not believing what other people think of you. They say what other people think of you is none of your business. That's really true. There's so many of us hold on to other people's belief systems of us instead of knowing who we are. And the secret is we want to know who we are while we're still in the physical body. We don't want to wait till we pass over to the other side and see ourselves as that soul being. And we all have a life review. We pass over. And a life review, we see every single moment of our lives we've just lived, not only from our point of view, but from another person's point of view that we interacted with. And we see the energy that we gave out, the love, the fear, whatever it might be, the prejudice, and we have to feel how they felt 10 times, 20 times, 30 times stronger than it was originally sent. So that's a hard one. If people knew that, if everybody knew that in this world, there wouldn't be wars.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And I think that would be if I lived 200 more years, that would be my next thing, was to bring that to people, that awareness that what you think is real, thoughts are things, and how you treat someone will come back to you. And that's really an interesting one. Nowadays, they're having in the lifetime, they're having in physical life reviews while they're still in the body. So yeah, so that's an interesting one that I might experience with my students.
So say more about that. So basically people start to have that full experience of the kind of more exaggerated feeling of all the impact on people like while
Exactly
they're
right. So
alive.
you create a space, and I'm going to be doing this in the course. We're creating a space where you actually go to a space from, and we go back to childhood, and you got the very instances, situations that come into your mind where you acted, where you reacted, and it could be anything from people you meet in nursery school to kindergarten to how you reacted to a parent, to a sibling, and you can also go to the major parts of your life, choices that you made, things that you did. Why did you choose this? Why did you do that? And it gives you a sense of self-assessment
Hmm.
and you see why you did it. What was the motivation behind your choice? And that's how you go through the rest of your whole life and you see where you've progressed, degressed, what you would have changed. And when you do that now in the physical, from this point on, then you'll think twice before you act out again. So it's wonderful in life review while you're still in the body.
I
Because
love
we all
that.
do life review, of course.
Move it up, get the benefit now.
That's yeah.
That's
I'm going
great.
to include that in the course. I'm going to do a little do that for the people. Yeah,
Oh, that's exciting. Well, I love that
yeah.
you're going
That
to be
just came
teaching.
in. I'll do that.
Yeah, I love that you're going to be teaching some of your advanced techniques in this upcoming course.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll share more about that later. I want to ask about sort of the resolution with deceased souls. I think a lot of people come to sessions wanting to communicate because there's a feeling of something being unresolved. How do you best approach that in terms of like, really surfacing and working through and clearing something that might be still in the space with a soul that's no longer here?
Oh, it's so interesting. It's a great question. It's so interesting because everybody is different, right? So every relationship they have with people is also very different. So many times, for instance, it might be a lady would like to talk to her father, and her father comes through, and she might be really upset because he never loved her, and she didn't feel she got enough love from him. So what is that? So we explore that. Each individual will go through a different process of what they're holding on to, of unfinished business, what resentment, whatever it might be. And it's interesting because every spirit will say something very different. Now, in that case, and this is actually a real case I worked on once, where the father came through and said, I wish I loved you more. I'm so sorry I didn't love you more, that you needed more love. But I was never taught love when I was a child, so I didn't know how to give love. So it's interesting from those different perspectives from the spirit world, well, of that person saying, I didn't know enough about this, so I couldn't give that out. Or they'll often come through and say, I couldn't be the mother I was in the lifetime. I'm very sorry. I can be it now from the other side of life. I'll be one of your guides, which actually happened to me. My mother was a guide of mine. So there are all different reasons behind behaviors, personalities. There's also, we have to remember that there's karma that's involved with the relationship with these two souls. So
Mm.
that's usually explored as well. There's one thing about mediumship when we work in this, it's a great profound understanding between the soul's relationship and the person, the recipient, if you will, who's working with it. He gets, that's why I never thought about it that way. That's a different perspective. I didn't think of it from that perspective. Because many times we tend to think from our own perspective, not stepping outside of ourselves for someone else's background. What was the parent's background? What's the generational background? Maybe it's through generational experiences it happens. So it expands the awareness, if you
Mm.
will, of the relationship, not only one-on-one, but also other generations as well in the family.
That's really interesting. So it sounds like it's like part of mediumship is like you're shifting some of these like more fixed belief systems and
That's right.
ideas about reality just
You're expanding
engaging
you're
with that
expanding your belief systems. It's exactly what mediumship is. It's expanding your belief systems and to open up to all the possibilities, the limitless possibilities. And with mediumship, I often describe it as changing your perspective, looking at it from a very different lens than we're used to. And that's
Mhm.
one thing which is fantastic because it's evolving, it's growing, it's expansion. And that's what mediumship is about.
Let's talk a little bit more about spirit guides. I know you're going to lead us in a process to connect with spirit guides and beloveds, but so
Sure.
what the maybe share a little bit of the distinction between beloveds who have passed, who may or may not be a spirit guide, and a
Right.
spirit guide team.
So interesting enough, Stephen. So one of the things with what I teach, and it's so fast, I love it because at one point in my life, I was curious about it. So I was exactly where certain people are, like, ooh, who is my healing guide? What's their name and what do they do? So it's very interesting. Over the years, when I brought through spirit guides, I worked with the spirit guides. It's so fascinating because they often will say, I don't have a name. So I'm more of an energy. And it seems as if that energy is a heightened energy. And I often have my students will tune into the energy of the guide. So for instance, what's a healing guide feel like? And we get into the actual, I guess you could say, sensing the energy of what a healing guide feels like. And I walk them through the process of what healing is all about. And then, or a philosophy guide, what feels a little bit subtly different between a philosophy guide and a healing guide. And maybe there's a life teacher guide. It's very interesting because we all have all different types of guides. When I first started my mediumship, I had a scientist, I had a doctor, I had a philosopher from China, I had an American Indian, different types. I had a nun, Catholic nun, who was teaching compassion. So we have all these different energies that come in, and it's more energetic. And I'll often say to the students, like, who is on your left side here? It's a guide. What kind of guide does it feel like? What are they teaching you? What are they impressing you with today? Why do they show up in your space today? So we go through that process. And also it's a sense of when you feel that you need more assistance or guidance from a particular type of guide. Let's say you're going to write something, so you want to have an inspirational guide. You can call upon them to come into your awareness. And there's an exercise that I do where you're actually aware when they're stepping into your space. And you learn how to discern between this energy and that energy. And it's so sensitive and so subtle, but it works. So I teach that as well for the guides, the different guides.
So can we think of like the guides as sort of like having a specialization in part of the curriculum that you've laid out, so they kind of are like
100%.
masters? Yeah.
100%. So for instance, like my sister that came, the nun that came through, taught me about compassion. And she would be attuned to my vibration and my background, my understandings in my lifetimes. And also, of course, I grew up Catholic, so maybe that's another reason why. But nothing ever happens by accidents. Remember, it's like attracts like. And you'll get that guide, that being to help you expand. It's interesting because you almost attract those beings to help you expand those various soul aspects within your soul to come alive, to come out. And they'll be there to help you bring those out. And they work with us. You know, they work with us on all the different levels that we exist on, because it's just the physical body, but there's so many different bodies. You know, I often say the soul, 70% of the soul's out here, only 30 is here. So they're working at different levels of us, of who we truly are. And from their perspective, they can see what's always the best for us, for our highest good. We as the ego sometimes get in the way. And that, of course, in my courses, I get that right out of the way, the ego, because once you get the ego out of the way, you give more room for the expansion. And that's real important.
I think now would be a great time to lead us into the technique you wanted to teach today, which is all about connecting with beloveds and spirit guides. And yeah, why don't you take some time to guide people on how they can start to build these bridges themselves?
Okay, and it could be, and I'll let people just figure out for themselves who they want to come in. So we can sit in the quiet, and I will do an exercise. I've done it before, which is really good, and it changes all the time, right? So I'm just gonna say, everyone, just close your eyes for a moment, and so it is, and slowly open up your eyes and be as one.
Beautiful, James. Thank you.
Did you have an experience?
Yeah, it just it was very touching. And I want to ask a little bit about the merger aspect. I haven't really sort of experienced that. It's more of like arm's length communication, but why sort of the merger is why does that actually facilitate a deeper?
So with mediumship, with mental mediumship, and really with trance mediumship, which part of my course will be doing a little trance mediumship. It's a real important aspect of mediumship is to surrender, right? Is to let go. Because when one is thinking, they don't have giving space for the spirit to come in. So when you allow them to use your space, knowing that you're always safe, that you're always going to be back there, no one can possess you per se. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in evil, but I do believe that we can share that space and be aware of what's going on out here, but yet they can come so close that we allow them to impress us. And mediumship is all about impression, and letting them share that space. So this is a very fundamental, easier way to start off, where you allow them to come in, so you begin to feel the impressions of someone else, feel thoughts of someone else, feelings of someone else, words of somebody else. And the more you do this, the stronger the connection becomes, and also the trust is becomes stronger. So it helps with mediumship. So that's really how I begin and really gain the confidence that the student will gain the confidence that they can do this. Because we all have to do it. We all have feelings, we all have thoughts, we all have words. And the funny thing is, Stephen, we share the space with so many beings all around us. And yet we're still here. We're in control. We're always in control.
I like that, building the confidence that you can kind of merge and go back to being.
It's called a blending. It's blending is really what it is. It's blending.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Can you share? I mean, so you've referenced mediumship a lot, and I think it might be helpful for people to understand the difference between psychic ability or psychic communication and mediumship.
Sure. So it's a big difference, and people should know this because I've seen professional mediums out there on television and so forth who don't know the difference. And it's really important when one does this work to know the difference. So psychic is knowingness. Psychic is what you can perceive, right? So we all are psychic. We all have a sense of knowingness. We're born with that. That's our soul's language, is intuition, meaning into the soul. So we're born with that sense of knowingness. That's psychic. So we can perceive things in the past, present, and future. The moment we're with somebody, we can sense, whether it's clairvoyance, where you see colors or memories or who they are in a soul essence, the future, you can see future events at that particular time. You can see where they're at spiritually at that particular time. So that's that psychic. But if you tune into someone, you feel a certain way, a behavior, a certain way they're going to be doing something, or some events can come into their lives. That's psychic. Mediumship is receiving. So psychic perceives, a medium receives. And a medium, what happens is a medium has to be very, very psychic to begin with, because you have to have a very strong foundation of intuition. So there's a sense of that intuition, but also what the medium learns to do in the skill set is everything is energy. So they have to mentally think, I got to bring up my vibration, my energy to a certain point. And it goes beyond, like up here, if you will. And the spirit people will lower their vibration. It's almost like this, Stephen. It's like a ceiling fan that's going on. If you turn a ceiling fan on all the way, you can't see the individual blades. But if you slow it down, you'll see the individual blades. So as a medium, we got to turn up the switch and go faster and faster. And the spirit people will slow down their vibration with their thoughts. So we meet halfway in the middle. That's medium, in the middle. So a medium is someone who receives impressions from the spirit world, as far as evident, if you want to say evidential, names, facts, details. And in that, there could be the medium, the spirit might say, you're going to get a new job soon. And that's fine because it's coming from them. But it's really important that the medium knows the difference, the fundamental difference between a psychic reading and a mediumship reading. And you'll see some mediums out there who don't know what they're doing, and they're going to fall right from the mediumship back to the psychic. Psychic is much easier because it's a very natural energy. Mediumship, you really got to work because you got to bring up that energy and sustain that vibration at that high level to have communication. So it's a little bit different, harder.
Yeah. It makes it more understandable why you took 7 years before you started doing it. You really have to take some time to practice, people to raise your vibration.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So we talk about sitting in the power. Part of sitting in the power is bringing up your vibration and working with that frequency, getting used to that frequency, attuning yourself and sustaining it.
You mentioned earlier that it sort of runs in families. How much is sort of like naturally given or sort of genetically or familial inheritance?
I guess it's the percentages, but I do believe it definitely runs in families, genetics. It definitely does generations. I know that I was born into a family on both sides of the family. My grandmother used to read tea leaves when I was a little boy. And my grandfather, who was very Catholic, he used to say to his wife, but put another plate on the table because at 5 o'clock the neighbor's going to come over. And sure enough, they would come over. And in those days, I don't know if it's the Irish English thing. I don't know what that is, that European thing. But they often lived with instinct in those generations. A lot of them didn't have information like we do today, social media, and radio, and television. So they really had to rely on their instinct, their intuition. And I do believe in those days gone by that helped develop that, if you will. And it's passed on through, I think there is a genetic calling to it as well, without a doubt. And then you don't have to have that to develop your mediumship. It certainly helps. But I think everyone is a medium to some degree. And my job as a teacher is to help them to get out of their old way of thinking and be open, be that instrument that they truly are. Because every soul, we're all souls having an experience. It's using your soul self, that soul energy, to allow yourself to expand and be an instrument for the spirit world.
Hmm. Well, James, you're just, it's revelatory talking to you. There's so much fascinating information, insight that you've developed over 40 years. So really great. We
I'm
want to
old.
spend some time not talking about how people can learn more from you because I think it's a very unique opportunity. And so we're very blessed that James has agreed to teach a next level program. It's actually
I
called
have to.
Next Level Mediumship
It's
with
my passion.
Next Level Mediumship with James von Praagh. Techniques for connecting with the spirit world for soul infused readings. It's at the URL nextlevelmediumship.com, which has a little dash in it, next-levelmediumship.com. It is a 7-week advanced program that builds on a previous 7-week program we'll share a little bit about. If you weren't in the first 7-week program, you're going to get access to all 14 modules, 7 of which are live and 7 of which you're getting from before. So we'll share a little bit about both. And this is really taking it to the next level. So for people who are serious about wanting to go deeper, wanting to establish a bridge of communication and mediumship, and making those distinctions between psychic and mediumship that James was talking about, and really being able to get real communication, real resonance, and a deepening of your spiritual path, then this is for you. So James, want to share a little bit about the kind of your intentions for this next level program?
Sure.
And
Sure.
we'll go through the modules.
In my development, it became very clear that you have to keep on learning. Every medium can't just stay still. There's always got to be learning, expansion, because otherwise we become mediocre mediums. We don't want mediocre mediums because it's such a responsibility to people, living people knows the past. So I think one always has to expand their skill set, and otherwise it's just become boring and bored, and we don't want that. So it's important, and like I said, I'm passionate about teaching. I see the best in each student and try to make it even better. And so it's really, really important that one is always learning to see things differently, different perspective, have different techniques, different ways to become aware of the spirit people. So we explore all that. And one thing I do, which works really well, mind me saying so, just give myself a little toot here, that I work really with the person. It's not just a general. I really do personalize it to their skill set. And sometimes it's a matter of just, what do you think of yourself? What's important in your life? So I do that because to me, I feel I have to. Otherwise, I don't phone it in. I just teach all the way with passion. And I love seeing one of the things I love most, it's really interesting, Stephen. People say, well, what's the hardest part of your job? I said, well, talking to dead people is easy. I can do that. The hardest part of my job is I see people's potential and they don't see it for themselves. So my job is helping them to see their potential and using it.
Well, that's a beautiful framing for why develop these skills. It helps
Yeah.
unlock that higher potential. So module 1 is called Unlocking the Mediumship Mind. Master the key differences between psychic and medium states.
So we learn the difference between a psychic reading and a mediumship reading, and go through the various aspects of how to tune in psychically and how to tune in mediumistically, and the subtle differences between the two.
Right. Module 2 then goes into surrendering and blending with spirit. Deepen connections through harmonious spirit partnerships.
It's important to let yourself open up and surrender and get out of the way and let go of the control. So it's hard for people, but we learn how to release and let go and surrender, still being in control, but surrendering ourselves to such a point that we're able to easily bring spirit through.
Module 3 is entitled Reading for a Crowd. Build confidence and deliver impactful spirit messages to groups.
Yes, it's sometimes very difficult to people have with large crowds, reading crowds, whether it's on Zoom or in a physical space, because you have a lot of people's energy coming at you, and you as a medium have to be in charge and in control of that space. So I'll talk a lot about and teach a lot about how to work with a large crowd and how to really be in control of that space, how to keep control of that space while you're also communicating with spirit.
Module 4, Tools of the Trade. Harness potent techniques for clarity and heartfelt spirit communication.
Yes. So when we do that, we're just going to go more into our own selves and our own heart. I call it the heart space, and using that heart space, using your loving energy to really bring in the highest aspects of the spirit. And it's interesting when you do that in mediumship, you're also receiving yourself, you're receiving that love. So we work with that, both those aspects.
Module 5, the ethics and responsibility of being a medium. Maintain integrity and compassion in spirit work.
Yeah, one of the most important things is integrity in this type of work because you have people's lives in your hands. So you have to know how to be responsible for people and how to give a message responsibly, how to treat them with kid gloves. And that's really, really an important aspect of mediumship that every medium needs to know.
Module 6, connecting like a pro. Sustain clear, detailed links with guides and loved ones for the most powerful readings.
So it's placing your mind in a space that is always available to you, and it's allowing yourself to get a certain space of the mind, where I say it's almost like a little room, if you will. And in that space, when you allow yourself to get to that particular space, you're able to pick up on guides and loved ones very, very easily. And the more you do it and allow yourself, and I teach you how to do that, it really does get much easier for people.
Module 7, cultivating your unique style. Embrace your authentic mediumship identity.
Right. So never compare yourself to anybody else because everybody is unique. So what I do is I build on your uniqueness, your own abilities, whether it's a sense of humor or whether it's medical background, an analytical mind. I work with what you have and make the best of that in order to communicate with the spirit. Every medium works differently, and I work with the best aspects of you to bring it out.
Well, what a fascinating program and a great distillate of so much of what you've learned and the deeper lessons, spiritually and practically over the years. I do think it's worth noting that you don't have to be a professional medium at all to do this program. I want to maybe share a little bit about how people benefit, even if they're just wanting to develop the skill sets and not thinking of this necessarily
Oh,
as a
sure.
skill
I've
set.
taught for 40 years, many all over the world, and I still have students write me back on Facebook and emails, and they just say, "Wow, I didn't go to be a professional medium, but it certainly helped me to live a spiritual life. I'm much more aware of my thoughts, how I treat people. I'm aware of people's energy. It's helped me live my life in a spiritual way." And they often say, "I can't explain it, but it's a whole different perspective." And I know that my loved ones are there, and if I want to tune into them, I can. But I'm also very aware that I have a spiritual path. It put me on my path, and it's helped me in other aspects of my life. So whether it's a business, accounting, chef work, it's helped them to be much more aware
Hmm.
of how they treat people, of themselves, and very much living the moment, not living far away, but being in the moment and doing the best you can with that moment.
That's great. Well, it's super helpful.
Yeah.
So I'll share a little bit more about this. There's, again, the whole program is laid out in detail at next-levelmediumship.com, nextlevelmediumship.com. So those are the 7 modules, and we'll share a little bit about the introductory course that is also part of this as well, or the foundational, I think is probably a better term. And so, first of all, you get those 7 90-minute live sessions with James, which are going to be packed with really great insights. You also get time to ask your questions live, super valuable. You have recordings of every session, both video and audio, as well as word-for-word transcripts that you can work with and study and highlight for years to come. There's weekly practices and exercises you can do at home. There's a Facebook community to also support you and deepen your experience. And there's often a really beautiful community around the world that connects around programs like this. And on the page, you'll see a number of extra bonuses. There's a series of audio meditations from James called "What Kind of Medium Are You? A Journey Through the Clairs." Want to share a little bit about that, those bonus audio?
Yes, so there might be some people that are much more clairvoyant. They tend to see more. Some are hearing, clairvoyant, some sensing, clairsentient. So everyone is different. So we just work with those particular abilities, and we advance them, if you will. So for instance, let's say someone's clairvoyant. I'll say, okay, so what color is the hair? What level of color is it? Yellow, okay, a blonde. What kind of blonde? What kind of tone is it? And I go deeper and deeper. So we go deeper into each thing. So even if it's our audience, say, you hear something, let's hear behind the sound. What's going on behind the sound? So it's an exploration into the different abilities, and it's really extensive.
That's great. There's also a second bonus, which is a live online session called an Evening of Mediumship. Sounds awesome. James, you want to share a little bit about the Evening of Mediumship?
Well, a couple of things. I'll be doing readings for people and also doing assessments of them on a soul level, what's going on with them, where they're at, if you will, and also bringing through messages from the loved ones.
Totally awesome. I know
It's a
that
lot.
yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about the companion course, the foundational course that really sets some of the deep understandings of how to build mediumship skills. It's called Cultivate Your Mediumship Skills with James Von Praagh, and it's bundled together for those who were not in that 7-week live program. So this program is going to build on these foundational teachings and practices. And so when you get the program, you're going to get these to then really develop the skills, perspectives, and on which the program can build. And so you can complete this material at your leisure. It's not required to complete in advance of the start of this program, but it tends to be better to do so by March 13th when the course begins. So James, I would love for you to share a little bit about that program.
Yeah. So the
Cultivate
first
your
program is really the fundamentals of mediumship, and it's really it's kind of getting yourself put your foot in the water and getting wet and understanding what mediumship is. What is your intention behind it? Why are you doing this? What is important to you? What's your belief system? How do you come about this? What's the reason why you're doing this? And really, again, it starts opening you up to going within to your own soul, starting to have that relationship with your soul self. What is the soul? Why are you here? You know, again, what's the importance of this? What's the reason you're doing this? We ask those questions. Where do you see yourself in the world? How do you see yourself in the world? What do you want to make out of your life? What's your life plan, if you will? So we start with those basics, and we start also with belief systems. You know, how, do you believe? What do you believe about yourself? About the life after death? What do you think your strongest abilities are? The basic fundamentals of that, of mediumship, belief systems, and so forth. And what do you hope to gain? What do you hope to gain out of this? And we also discuss like people's self-imposed limitations, and also what possibilities that are there. So we cover all of that, and also we work a lot with getting out of your own head, getting away from the head, stop thinking about it, and getting into your heart, using your heart. So a lot of it is opening yourself up to feel, not overthink, but from the head to the heart. They go from the head to the heart. So a lot of the course, the fundamental course, is getting away from those overthinking things and feeling more. Because you want to start with a feeling. That's the first thing. So it covers a lot of that.
Well, we definitely get rave reviews from students for that program, and I know that it's a real blessing to be able to do both in succession here.
But
So,
that, Stephen, I just want to say, I agree with you. But on March 15th, they should do that first one to get the basic underneath them. So it'd be better for them if they did that.
great. Well, let's encourage everybody to do that, which is a good reason to sign up early. So just that course alone is a $349 program, so that you're getting that bundled in with the advanced program as well here today. Oh, on the page, I want to also draw attention to one extra bonus that you get if you sign up right away. And this is a way to encourage you to sign up right away, which also gets you access to the Cultivate Your Mediumship Skills program, which then you can start working on and start before March 13th. So this is another live online event with James called Experience Spirit Connection, which is a little bit different than the live mediumship. So I'll share a little bit about what you're going to be doing in that live event for folks who sign up today.
Sure. So it's just going to be, like I said earlier, it has a circle of loved ones and guides within day to day in their work. So, and that would be really about what are they here for? What are the major lessons they're going to learn this lifetime? Why did they come back? And who in the spirit world is involved with helping them progress? So it could be a loved one, it could be a friend, it could be an animal. So we just bring them through to have that awareness of who's in that circle, who's in that space to help them progress in their soul plan in this particular lifetime. And what do they need to do based upon each spirit that comes in, that connection, to find out what the highest potential is, how they can get there, and so forth. So it's, again, another assessment of their own souls through spirit.
Well, that's a great reason to sign up right away, so you get that extra bonus
It's a
as
good one.
well. The great one. It's going to be an amazing program, and really, it's just such a unique opportunity to get the distillate of more of the teachings and understandings that James has spent 40 years cultivating. And we've kept it accessible with just 3 payments of $310. You save 10% when you pay in full with one payment of $846, which again includes that entire first foundational program, Cultivate Your Mediumship Skills. The course is going to start on March 18th and run Tuesdays at 5 Pacific, 8 Eastern. But even if you can't make the live times, you can still get the full value with the recordings, the transcripts, and the community as well. And I particularly encourage you to read through some of the testimonials. If you haven't, not aware of James and the impact he's had in the world, you got big celebrities like Shirley MacLaine, Jennifer Love Hewitt, Joe Dispenza. Everybody loves James.
There.
I think he's on earth right now at this time.
There.
He's the real thing, inspires us to look beyond what's in front of us. Truly inspirational, did a brilliant job in demystifying our spiritual nature. So many people just rave about James and his work, and including everyday students and super famous people. And he's just very down to earth, very real, and really gifted at not only being a medium, but teaching you how to cultivate the skills as well. So again, it's all at next-levelmediumship.com, next-levelmediumship.com, and you'll get that special bonus when you sign up today of the live evening of experiencing spirit connection. So James, we're nearing the end of our time together. It's always a pleasure to be with you. It's just so
Thank you,
fun,
Steve. You as
dynamic,
well.
and anything that's still on your heart you want to share with folks who are considering doing.
Well, it's very interesting because you talk about the prices of things. And it's like, well, you can't put a price on certain things because even mediumship, I mean, that's really to change someone's life. That's nothing. When people can put up prices, it goes beyond that because this will be information to use for the rest of your life. And that's really important to put in perspective. These basic fundamentals and a bit more advanced helps everybody in their journey, and not only now, but the rest of their lives. They'll use it for the rest of their lives. So there's really monetarily, I don't put any. It's hard to put a price on it because it'll go on forever. And it's really mediumship for me has totally changed my life and my relationship with everyone I live with. I go to a dog park every morning, and I just have the best time because I feel the love of everybody. I feel all the animals and the people, and I try to make people's lives better that day. And this is done through mediumship. You kind of learn to live in that loving space and be more appreciative of life. So there's so many outside, wonderful experiences you have based on the basic fundamentals of this. Not only talking to dead people, but it's a way of living your life, a spiritual life in this physical world that we have. So it's worth it, I think.
Well, we definitely need it because, as we know, there are plenty of younger souls that are not always creating that field of love and harmony. And so if we can anchor in that and bring it in and spread it in our own personal way in community and families and clients, then we really are out picturing the beautiful world that we all came here to create. So
Spread the love.
Spread the love. So thank you, James, for spreading the
Thank you,
love
Stephen.
and
Appreciate
also
it.
the great
Thank you.
insights. Love you all. So if you want to go further with James and really receive this master level teachings, you can do so at next-level mediumship, and you'll get that special experience spirit connection when you sign up by today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.